What's up, Scoop Podcast? I'm your host, Erica Kruppen, and on today's episode, we have a guest. And I know you love guests. On today, we have Carol O'Banion, and she is with Happy Paws Waste Removal and located right by Michigan in Ohio. Welcome to the show, Carol.
Hi, nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on. I, I know I hate to be like, how's the weather? But seriously, it's snowing here in Michigan. Is it snowing for
Same,
you today?
same. Yep.
Was
Yeah.
today your first snowfall?
Yes, it was. Yeah. I'm not ready. I'm really not. It just made me realize that I'm not ready for it.
Seriously, this is my scooper's first winter, and I did not cover any winter scooping or anything. So before I left, I sent him a video. I made a video in the backyard explaining him how to scoop and like some quick tips. And I was like, let me know if you have any questions.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing the techniques that you pick up along the way. Like you wouldn't think that there would be little tips and tricks that you can have picking up poop, but there are.
Yeah, and this is what I really feel like, at least for me. Let me know your thoughts. When there's a light snowfall where it's kind of piecey, you can see the
Mhm.
grass blades coming through it and you can see the poop. I find that to be harder than when it's actually like a solid snowfall because there's just so much going on with the eyes.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And even bright sunny days, sometimes when it's super bright for me, I have a hard time seeing it in contrast to if there's a little bit of shade. That's just me. I may be weird, but that I have a difficulty with really sunny days.
As do I. That's why I wear a hat with a nice big bill,
Hmm.
or I wear like a hoodie over top of it. I tried to wear sunglasses, but then that
Hmm.
causes shadows. And I've
Yeah.
noticed a lot of our complaints that we get are those yards, those like first thing in the morning yards, because of the sun's like doing some weird stuff in the morning.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, for the listeners, I'm sure you know, we both own dog waste removal businesses, and so that's why we're talking about dog poop. And
Mhm.
I want to get into it, but I'm curious. This is like a little bit of an icebreaker question that somebody asked me last week, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. If you were to be a breed of dog, what type of dog would you be?
I think that's a good one. It's a hard one. Um, I think I would want to be a medium size because short dogs, I've seen too many short, low to the ground dogs scrape, get ice and snow on their bellies, and get it on their back areas when they're using the potty. And I don't want that. I think that would be highly uncomfortable. So I definitely would want to be a medium sized dog. I would go with um, maybe like I have a lab. I would say a lab. I like labs. They're good. That would be a good one.
Yeah, they're full of energy. They're
Hmm.
fun. They get to do stuff. People like them so they can go places.
Yeah.
I want to be a pit bull, like my kind of pit bull. I want to lay on the couch. I don't
Yeah.
want to have a lot of expectations. I don't want to be taken anywhere because I'm not socially acceptable. Just keep me at home, feed me, feed me treats, and let me run around in my backyard.
That sounds good. That is a good one. Good points.
I'm like, my dog lives the dream.
Mine too. She's a German Shepherd mix, which I love German Shepherds, but I think she's a Lab Shepherd mix. So I think I went with the Lab. The only reason I didn't go with German Shepherd is sometimes they get a bad rap because they are German Shepherds. So yeah, that's why I went with the Lab instead.
They're very smart dogs. I had
Hmm.
one that I knew this dog was able to unlatch the back door with his snoot because the homeowner told me it one time in like a casual conversation. Every single time I went to that yard, like I'm like, don't let the dog out. Like seriously, I'd be so nervous. And finally, I just ended up dropping the yard because even though the homeowner told me, he's like, listen, I put what is it like a wooden plank or something at the base of
Hmm.
the sliding door. I put it so he can't unlatch it. I didn't believe him. I'm like, with men, I feel like you forget, you're gonna leave,
Hmm.
and that dog is gonna get let out on me. So I actually dropped that property because My
Yeah.
anxiety was so high.
I'm glad that you mentioned that actually, because I still have them as a customer. So I don't know if I should really so much. I don't know if they'll see it, but I don't know how much. I'm not going to get too much into it, but it's one of those situations where you do have that anxiety every single time you go to that home because their dog has been let out on me too many times. And I try to communicate with everyone, especially some like in this situation, so they know exactly when I'm coming, when I'll be there, so they do not let the dog out. And they've let that dog out on me so many times. And I actually almost got bit. I got grazed. I have a scar on my arm from it. And, I let it go because it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And I love dogs. I get the dog was protecting its property and it wasn't the dog's fault. But again, that's a very sticky situation. So at times I just wonder if I should just cut them off, honestly, because it's not good, it's not safe for nobody. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Well, for what it's worth, if you're curious, this is how I would handle it. I would drop them. I
Hmm.
would let them know that it's happened too many times, and due to their negligence, I have to drop you because I've
Hmm.
been in this situation, and my scooper was bit like 3 or 4 times, and I had to
Oh,
send her to the urgent care, and it was a mess.
wow.
And unfortunately, it resulted in the dog getting put down. Not that we
Hmm.
requested this, but the homeowner was just so beside herself that her dog was that vicious to like
Yeah.
keep trying to attack like that. And she's like, I can't have this type of dog around my family because this isn't the first time he's bit. So
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, just drop them. You can replace them with another customer and it's not worth your anxiety. It's really not worth it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I'm getting to that point because, and it gets worse. It's not getting any better. Every time I go, I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but, I'm to the point where I think I'm going to have to just let it go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get too far into it, I'm really good about just hopping into stuff. Let's go back. Let's let the listeners know about your business and how you got into the business.
I've been in business since 2018, and I got into it in kind of a funny way. It was a Craigslist ad, and I was staying at home with our daughter at the time. She was not quite 3, and I'd stayed at home with her. Took off work for the first couple of years, and I thought, I want to get back out into working, but I want to have a flexible schedule that I can choose my own thing. So, with that in the back of my mind, I saw the Craigslist ad. Someone asked for somebody to scoop poop in their yard. So I thought, you know what, why not? And I'd worked at a humane society for a few years before that, before I stopped working. So I thought, I'm desensitized to dog poop and everything at this point. So nothing really phases me with animals. So I called them, and they lived in one of those nice neighborhoods right by a golf course. And so it was just like one of those domino effects. I started with her, then her neighbor, then their friend, and it just picked up. And here I am 6 years later. And over the past 2 years, I've really picked it up more. At first it was just like a side gig, kind of just doing it for extra money and to get out and have my me time, basically. But it's grown into a business now. And then over the years, I got to the point where I'm like, I'm doing okay with this. So I'm really going to give it a go. So here I am, still going. I work 6, 7 days a week, which sometimes that gets a little tiring, but it is what it is. I'm grateful.
Yeah. We started around the same time because I started in 2018 as well.
Okay.
Um, so how many customers do you have right now? Just so the viewers.
Well, there's two aspects to what I do. I also do house cleaning too. I have residential and commercial cleaning, and then I also do the poop scooping. Um, Before I have about 45 on the poop scooping right now, and then I have about 35 on the cleaning. That's why I'm
That's full.
currently,
That's a full
yeah,
route.
yeah, and I'm trying to hire to get some extra help because I'm to the point now where I have people that want work done, but I don't have the hours. I don't have the manpower. So I'm kind of in that sticky situation to where I'm either going to have to back up or back off a little bit or hire somebody. And I don't want to back off because I've been doing it this long. And you want to grow. You don't want to go backwards. So yeah, that's where I am nowadays.
That's where you do a rate increase, hike up
Yeah.
the rates, and then,
Yeah.
some people will fall off and that'll give you a little bit more of a buffer.
Right.
So you're doing this by yourself. You have roughly about 40 to 50 customers on the poop scooping side. You have your other business. So you're working,
Hmm.
6 to 7 days a week. What would you say the hardest part right now with trying to balance both of
Getting
them?
sick, having a day. My father-in-law passed away the end of September. He was sick in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and I regardless, I have great customers. I do. They're amazing. They're also understanding. And anytime something comes up, they're always great about it. But I don't know if you get this, but you get that guilt. You hate to not get your work done and take care of your customers, but then again, you have that family guilt too. So I'm stuck in that right now where I want to make sure that I'm getting everybody taken care of. And if I'm off, nobody does it, or if I'm not home, who's going to fill my spot at home? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your policy? Like, say, for instance, if you can't come one day, how do you handle that situation with the service and then with billing?
Usually, if I can't go one day, if I can make it up within like 3 days, then we'll just stick to the same billing. But if I have to skip, because that was a tough one. That is a tough one because in the beginning, if I had to skip or if someone canceled or they said, I can't pay you this week, can I come? Can you come? Like 2 weeks later, I would go and I'd charge the same price. But, I was doing the full service at the time. And some of those homes, I was taking the poop away. So that's a higher volume of waste that I'm picking up. And it's more time. And, I had a couple that didn't understand that. But so long story short, basically, if it's within a couple of days within their normal route, it stays the same. If not, if it's like a week out or something, then I'll charge them like the biweekly rate.
Okay. And then are you charging every week or are you charging once a month?
Um, See, that's another thing is I need to change this as well because it's a big learning curve with this.
Yeah.
Everyone had their own thing. Like one would pay weekly, one's biweekly, one's monthly, one's as needed, and it gets so confusing and it's so hard to keep track of if you don't have somebody doing it for you. So with some of those, I don't know. It's just all over the place. I'm just totally losing track of where I'm even at now because it's so crazy. See, I can't even keep up with it now.
No,
Um,
this is good because there are a lot of business owners that are still struggling with this. I hear this all the time. I get asked, like, how do you do billing? What's the right way to do billing? There's different
yeah.
ways to do billing, but there's wrong ways to do it too. And if you're
Hmm.
confused, right, and you're like, I don't know what's going on, that's when you're like, okay, let's
Hmm.
systematize this. Because as you start growing and then you start hiring people, that's when you're really going to notice when you miss, like somebody doesn't pay you, or you're
Hmm.
not charging for that fifth week, or something happens, or they're having your technician is spending like double the time in the yard and you're only
Hmm.
charging for a single visit. That's when you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I need to systematize because that's what happened with me. Because we're out there, we're like, our time's not that valuable. We can just do
Hmm.
the extra. It's not a big deal. But then when you're
Yeah.
cutting that paycheck and you're like, whoa, why is that hitting my account like that? Then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, we need to fix this now.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does because that's what I say. I'm like, well, they've been with me for so long, and I'm just going to take the hit and just let it go. And uh, yeah, I see. I've been noticing a lot where things need to change. I started a different payment system, so now I have a lot of them paying monthly. I'll say either, you can go to this system and you can pay it through this, which is Stripe. I've been using Stripe and using their invoices. And a lot of them have changed to that, and it's made my life so much easier. But I tell them either use that or go ahead and pay monthly and just get it done. So I have a lot of them on a monthly schedule now, but I need to get everybody on the same track because, right now on the spot, even trying to tell you how many people I have that pay weekly, biweekly. I have no idea. I'd have to sit here, look back, think about it, and it shouldn't be that hard to do. Oh gosh, it's crazy.
At one point, I had people paying on the first of the month. I had some people paying on a rotating every 4 weeks schedule. I had some people paying me every week. And then some other people were just paying me in Venmo and Cash App. It was a mess. And then I got my
Mhm.
virtual assistant, and she was like, wait, what's going on? I was like, well, and I was trying to explain it. I was like, all right, this can't happen. And so Jobber, the CRM I use for the business, that's where I do like all my routing and billing. That
Mhm.
really helped streamline everything. So then that way I'm able to keep track of everybody's billing, and it's already automatic. Everybody's bill gets charged on the first of every month at 9 p.m. with their credit card on file. It is wonderful.
Nice. And I think I heard you. I watched one of your videos when you were talking about Jobber. I need to look into that because it's so much easier if it's just smooth and it works for everybody. Because I have a few customers that I have to really watch and make sure when they're paying, if they're paying, and it might not sound like a lot. $15 may not seem like a lot, but it adds up. And over time, it really adds up. And I can't work for free. Nobody else wants to work for free. Why should I?
No, no. So what are you doing for routing?
For routing, like
Yeah. How do you route your houses?
most of them are in the same neighborhoods. So I'm pretty lucky about that. And I did change that. I dropped a couple of customers because in the beginning I was just excited to get customers. So I get a customer, two customers in one neighborhood, and then have to drive 10 miles in another direction. And it was chaos. It was so crazy. And I felt like I was using more in gas than what I was making. So I have certain days for certain areas, and it's become so much smoother that way. It's basically, I could do it with my eyes closed at this point.
Now, how did you get that route density?
Word of mouth mostly. It was just those suburban neighborhoods, the housing developments where it's all the same houses, basically look the same. They're nice homes, don't get me wrong, but just word of mouth. I've had really great customers, and I've been really fortunate with that. I haven't had to advertise a whole lot because of that, and that's saved me some money. But then again, I probably could have grown much more if I would have done more advertising. But where I'm at now, I don't think I could have I wouldn't have been able to maintain unless I started hiring earlier on. And I just mentally, I don't think I was there for that yet. I just wasn't ready. But now, yeah, I want to grow more, so I'm gonna have to.
Dreaming of starting your own holiday lighting business? Bright Factory has you covered. Introducing the ultimate holiday lighting business in a box. Get ready to light up your community with everything you need to succeed. A complete brand identity, a sleek website, and fully wrapped trailer jam-packed with supplies and equipment. We're talking top-notch uniforms, eye-catching marketing material, and world-class training. Plus, custom videos for your team to ensure they're ready to shine from day one. Ready to turn your holiday lighting dreams into a reality? Visit brightfactory.com today and let Bright Factory light the way to your success.
Okay, so as for people, what else do people want to know? Oh, pricing. So where's your base rate at for, let's say, one dog, small yard, once a week?
Um, Usually for one dog, small yard, I start at 14. But if it's like a tiny yard, maybe an apartment where they just barely have a patio and a little tiny bit of grass, then I'll go down to 12. But that's the lowest that I'll go. And if someone has 4 or 5 dogs in the size of their yard, then we we go over things a little differently that way. But most average yards run around $15 to $18 a week.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. My prices are a little bit higher right now. We're gonna see. I did a price increase. We'll see if the market will allow it. But I am not afraid to be like, nope, I went too high. Let's adjust it down.
Yeah,
So
right.
I'll I'll definitely test it. All right, cool. So you have some good route density. You're getting customers through word of mouth because people are super happy with your service. How would you say things have changed from like when you first started versus like now, like 6 years later? Because the whole industry, everything's changed.
When I first started, I was the only one in the area doing it, basically. I Well, the county that I started in was Marion County, and I did Marion and the two surrounding counties. I was always nervous. I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. There was a larger poop scoop business, and I didn't mess with that. I was really nervous and backwards about it. I didn't want to put myself out there too much. And, over time now, there's been more. There's another. I have a competitor now, which she seems like such a great lady. She and I have talked, but in the past couple of years, she started up a business, and there's been more in the other surrounding counties that have picked up. So poop scooping has really blown up to have gone from being the only one in the area to now you hear and see of it a lot more. It's really grown. It's an industry that's really growing.
I always say it's really picking up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh. Because we
Mhm.
pick up.
Ding.
Now, so now that the market is warmer, because when you got into it, it was a cold market. Now it's warm.
Mhm.
When you talk to people about this service, are you still hearing, wait, that's a service?
Not as much as I have before, but in the beginning, I was almost embarrassed about it. I had some folks, and it was a couple of older gentlemen, and they were like, "Well, I wouldn't pay nobody to do that. I can't believe somebody would pay for that." And I said, "Well, people pay to get their grocery shopping done. People pay to have, their food brought to them. People pay for a lot of different services." And I told him nicely, the one guy, I said, not everyone is able-bodied. Not everybody has the time. Multiple of my customers, when I first started, not long after, their husbands were deployed overseas. So here these moms were working, had multiple kids, had a lot going on. They didn't have time to go out and scoop the poop. So it was a service that they really needed. And so what if you don't really need it? So what if it's not a mandatory thing? If it's something that helps you out and it's not breaking your wallet, what's the big deal with it? What does it matter?
I know people they're so judgmental.
They
It
are.
it really cracks me up. I don't know. Have
Mhm.
you ever went back and forth with people in the comments, or you just let it be?
Not, I haven't really, I haven't had issues in the comments really. Not so far, but I'm sure it will.
I know. I've seen other scoopers where they just like they go crazy and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I would do that." But then
Right.
it's like if you're trying to educate somebody that doesn't value your service, you're literally just wasting. You're just
Mhm.
wasting your time. And this is what really made me think about this is I was in a backyard scooping and the guy that lived behind the house that I was scooping would come out and he would scoop his own dog poop. And he said something very similar to that of I just get out here and just do it. I don't understand why somebody would pay. And he was like, but more he didn't say more power to you. He was older, so he used like older people verbiage.
Mhm.
But he was like, well, good for you, you figured it out, you're making money. I was like, okay, whatever. Well, maybe a year, 2 years later, I was back there still scooping because this is one of my first like 12 yards. And the wife came over and she's like, how much do you charge? I told her the price and she's like, "Well, Ronald, he had a stroke and he's in the hospital right now and he's the one that takes care of this. And I don't do it. So I could use your help." They
Wow.
they then valued my service because he had a stroke and he lost a nice chunk of his eyesight. And
Yeah.
at that point, now I was of value and they understood it. But before they couldn't wrap their brains about it around it because
Right.
like you said, they were able bodied. They had the time.
Yeah. Makes sense. Absolutely. Sometimes you just have to have something happen and then you're like, oh, that aha moment. Like now I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you run, like the listeners, if you run into situations like this, just try to leave a good impression with the people. Don't get nasty with them because even if they are nasty with you right away, because at some time something might happen and they're going to think of you and then they could give you a call and they could turn into a potential customer.
Yep. Yeah, I've had and like you said basically just now, you never know. Somebody is always watching, somebody always sees something. So my word of advice is always carry yourself in a way that you're not ever going to be embarrassed about because that one interaction with somebody could make or break what someone's going to say about you, and that could cost you customers because as I said, mine have all mostly been word of mouth, and it's all been because they get the services they need. I'm polite, I'm kind, and that goes a long way.
Now, would you say that communication is a strong point for you?
Yes.
Have
Yes.
you have you always been good with customer communication or is this something you learned?
I've always been good about communicating, but now it's easier for me to speak out and be honest and upfront with people about things. As I said before in the beginning, I wanted to butter everybody up and just make them happy and please everyone. And in the long run, that doesn't help anybody if you're not upfront with them and giving them full communication. So I'm much better now because I've gotten less self-conscious, and I feel stronger in my business and what I do. So I'm able to do that because if I don't get the customer, I don't get the customer. But it's better than putting too much on myself and shortchanging them because that's what's going to happen.
Isn't it cool how business helps you with your self-confidence and helps you grow?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because I've always been a very backward, stay behind the scenes person, and it's helped me out in a lot of ways. Like if someone would have said, "You're going to go on a podcast," I would have said, "No way." Like 10 years ago, I'd say, "No, I'm not. That's funny." Yeah, it's not happening.
Actually, a fun fact, I was deathly afraid of public speaking, like so bad to the point that when I was driving to one of my public speaking classes, I was like, how do I contemplate my own death? Like, how do I fake it so I don't have to do this? I got there, I did the presentation, I was shaking the whole time, and I almost passed out. I don't even remember the full presentation. I remember grabbing my backpack, I left, I dropped the class. I was like, "I'm not doing that again. That's for the birds." Well, I went back to college. I was like, "I gotta figure out how to get out of this hospital. I hate this hospital, but of course you gotta take your gen eds. What's a gen ed? You gotta do public speaking." So I took public speaking again at a different college, and each time we had a presentation, the teacher gave you the opportunity to be one of the first 5 people to get their presentation over and done with. You got to
Mhm.
come into class, write your name on the board, be done. Every week I'd come in, I'm like, I'm going to write my name up there, chicken out. Every week, same thing. I'm like, overthink it. I'm like sick to my stomach. I hate talking in front of people. And then it was the last presentation of that class. And I was like, this is it, Erica. This is it. Like, you don't have another opportunity. You have to do this. So I walked in, nobody else was there. The board was empty. And I walked right up to that board and I wrote my name on the top. And it was so like chicken scratch. I did my presentation. And guess what? I didn't die. I did not
Right.
die by going first. And
Yeah.
that was a huge moment for me. After that, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I really do think that me getting over that fear really changed the trajectory of everything because, like you said, no way should I be doing what I'm doing right now. Like, this is crazy.
Right. And you do great with it. You're doing great. You just look so at ease and comfortable with what you're doing. Like I was the same way though. I didn't do well if when I was in high school, I did not want to get up in front of the class. In college, it pulled me out of my shell more because you have to at some point. And then in business, I've done a couple of interviews and stories, and I did one other podcast with a radio station, and it really helped me. And like you said, I didn't die. I made it through. I'm still here. And you know what? If you blunder, if you do something wrong, if you repeat yourself, if you misspeak, so what? You're still alive at the end. And people make mistakes. We're all human. It is what it is.
I agree. It's so much easier said than done, but it really is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're awesome at communicating, you're a confident business owner, you're maxed out right now. What is something that you're struggling with that you really want to work on in say the next 12 to 24 months within your business?
Getting some help, hiring someone, getting some help, and working on my payments. I need to get a better system. I need to get better at the business aspect of it. And when I say that, I like the marketing and reaching out to other business owners, which I do have some other business owners that are friends, and we collab and kind of give each other, the scratch on the back that we need here and there. But I need to do better. I could do much better with that, which granted, I am super busy. When you work 6, 7 days a week, and then in the evenings, I have kid stuff going on and family, it's really hard to fit that in. So I'm praying that I can find reliable help, and that way I can have a little time for the other things so I can improve and tweak the little areas that I need help in.
I will
Or
say that first hire is always the hardest, I feel like. Cause it's like you're in control of everything with your business, right? You know every detail of what's going on. You can remember if like where the dog's ball was at in the backyard when you scoop that yard, you know?
yeah.
And how are you with control and releasing control?
That's really hard. It's hard. It's really hard for me. You're you're used to doing everything a certain way and getting things done a certain way. And I'm very protective of my customers. And I do have the house cleaning side of it as well. So that's and I don't know if the person that I'll be hiring will be doing house cleaning right now. I just don't know if I'm ready for that step, because that's my customers' homes. That's their safe spaces. So, but I'm sure the person that I do hire, I'm sure that I'll find someone that'll be trustworthy and they can work their way into that. But yeah, that's my biggest fear is my customers. I just never want anything to happen that could ever make them feel unsafe or insecure with my business in any way or me. So, um, yeah, it's really scary. It really is. And you don't think about how much goes into having employees until you think about having an employee.
Yeah, at all the little things that you have to start training on and the nuances and why you do things this way. And this customer likes to be called instead of text message when you're on the way. Go through this gate, not that gate.
Yep.
The dog poops on this side during this season, but not that season.
Yep. Yep.
So when you go to hire, you can, I don't know if you've ever done a background check, but there's a good
Mhm.
resource called Checker. I'll have to look it up. But you can do background checks to see if they have any criminal history. There's certain things I won't hire, like if there's any like SA charges, anything
Yeah.
against kids, any
Yeah.
aggressive like breaking and entering.
Hmm.
Um, if they have minor stuff, everybody has a past.
Yeah.
Everybody has a past, you know? So there are certain things I'll let go, but we are sending people to their home. Like that's where their kids are, their
Hmm.
family, everything. So you have to be really careful with that. And then what was the other thing I was going to say about hiring? Oh, Cole told me, because Cole was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. He says for every one person he hires, he interviews like 50 people. It's all a numbers game.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I agree. I was wondering about that too. My husband and I were talking about that because I just put a help wanted listing online, and I was talking to him about, I really do want to do background screenings, and it's not because, like you said, everyone has a past and people make mistakes, but there are limitations to that when you're going near and in someone's home and around their family. So I absolutely agree with that. And I'm glad you mentioned it because I needed some info on background checks for when the time comes.
Yeah, Mr. Producer, if you could, you see this part, could you remind me to give you the link for the background check? Thank you. We love Mr. Producer here. He makes all this happen because I was like falling apart. I'm like, Mr. Producer, I need help. And he's like, I got you.
Awesome. It's so awesome that you've done this. Like, I mean, gosh, I'm like a fangirl for you. Like, it's so awesome. One day, hopefully, I can be like you, Erica.
I did you see the TikTok that I uploaded before we hopped on about like feeling like you don't know what you're doing?
I saw a piece of it, but then I started messing with this, and I was like freaking out. Like, watch, something's not going to work right, and so I didn't get to watch all of it.
It's just I was brushing my teeth over in the bathroom because I like to have fresh teeth before the interview. It's just whatever. But um I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing in some aspects. And then finally I feel like I'm getting my stride. Like I know how I want my interviews to flow. I know how I want to ask the questions. Like I got everything streamlined. But when that starts to happen, then I'm like, okay, what can I move on to next? And then I get into a new endeavor where then again, I feel like I don't know anything. I'm like, what's going on? This is a mess. And I think successful people, I wonder, do they do this often? Because when I look back, I'm like, whoa, you really have achieved a lot. You really do know a lot. But in this moment, I'm building out a content creation course. And I am just like, you don't know anything, Erica. And I'm like, no, you just don't know how to build a course. You don't know how to get the stuff out of your brain onto paper. That's the issue. And you know what you got to do? You got to reach out to people that know how to do that stuff. And so that's what I did yesterday.
That's great though. That as humans, we always are learning, and at least you're stepping out and you're doing these new things, and you're finding ways to learn and grow and be better. If you find something that you may be struggling with, at least you're smart and you're pushing yourself to learn what you need to learn to get better. And I need to do that too.
Well, that's the reason why I asked you the question about what you're struggling with. So then that way I can kind of like bring it to the forefront and be like, all right, this is what I need to work on. I want to hire and I really want to get my billing streamlined. So we got to give you a deadline. You got to have it done, I don't know, let's say by this time next year at the latest.
Yeah, yes, it has to be done by next year. Good grief.
You should do it for winter. I would say do it before winter or during winter. Like that's the best time really because I don't know, I feel like it starts to slow down a little bit. Get that stuff figured out. And if you're going to do a price increase, I always like to do it right before spring rush because you get all those new customers and any of the this might be sleazy, whatever. I'm just going to say it. And if I do a price increase on current customers, then if they drop off, I don't have to do that big nasty clean when the snow melts in March.
I don't blame you. Yes, it is nasty. It's so nasty, slushy, wet, muddy poop. Yeah. Yeah. No matter how much poop you pick up, it's always nasty at that point. Ooh.
It is, but there's your spring rush for anybody that's listening that is new and you don't know. If you live in a place where it's very snowy, your spring rush is what's going to help set you up for success for the rest of the year. So you want to have a strong spring rush.
Yeah. And just just think dollar signs. When you're trekking through the mud, put your mud boots on and you're okay. Scoop that poop and make that money.
Andrew Martinez, a friend of the show, says, scoop that poop and bag that loot.
That's right. That's perfect.
Yeah. He
Love
told
it.
me he told me I should, like, trademark it. I'm like, "But you did that. Like, that's your thing. I feel like I can't steal it from you."
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I will.
If he gives it to you, hey, if he passed it along to you, yeah,
It's
that's all
true.
right.
That's true. All right. So what we know what you're gonna work on. You're gonna figure out your billing. You're gonna hire somebody. What would you like your business to look like within the next 12 months?
Hopefully, smooth sailing, which, that's easier said than done because something always comes up. But I would like to add, we moved to a new location. This is another goal of mine. We bought a house in a different area than where I started the business. But this area has been so dry. I went on the radio station, I put out ads, and I don't know what it is about this area. People just aren't picking up on the poop scooping vibe. But I think I'm going to have to get out there more, maybe connect with some business owners and hopefully open up this new area because I don't think there's anybody doing it here. So I need to get it while the getting's good, basically, because I don't want somebody else to swoop in and do more than what I'm doing. Like I've been here for a while, so I want to get it while I can. So hopefully I'll have at least 1 to 2 employees and I'll be able to take time off if I'm sick, have the billing set up so it's not a total stress, and hopefully just bring in more revenue, of course. But I think that's most of what I that's my goal so far.
No, those are good goals. Those are big ones. Um, you said that the area is dry. I am curious. What's your target customer? Like your ideal customer? Let me kind of give you a backstory. I moved to a really like affluent area for my office because I thought for
Mhm.
sure these people they got money. They're totally
Yeah.
going to spend their money with me. No,
Right.
no, they got money and they got time to pick up the dog poop.
Mhm.
Pay their landscaper or go walk the dog and the dog poop goes somewhere else.
Right.
My like target person is a dual income household,
Mhm.
somebody with kids that
Same.
they're busy. The last thing that they want to do is go out and scoop the dog poop. They probably barely even go in their backyard. So that is like my target demographic.
That's the same with me. Basically, just the average folks. Basically, like us, my household. We're both busy. It's hard to keep up, and honestly, I'm a poop scooper, and sometimes, some days, there's poop in my yard. Like I said to myself, like I'm a poop scooper. There should not be poop in my yard. Like I can't. I just can't. I hope nobody ever sees it. But it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. But still, like you'd think there would be no poop in my yard. But yeah, it's the same for me because I have found, you're right, the more affluent communities, they don't want your service quite as much as the more everyday people do. So
Don't beat yourself up too much. I was too poop to scoop my own dog poop. So use this as motivation to make sure you hire so you can put yourself on route.
right,
Because my
that's right.
house is on route today. Charles is at my house scooping today while I'm here talking to you. Success. And at first, I kind of felt bad about it. And I was like, well, no, now I can do like quality checks, to make
That's
sure
right.
everything's good. Put yourself on route. All right. Well, this has been great. It was really nice chatting with you.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I got 2 questions. If there's somebody that is new in business and they're just getting started right now, what's one piece of advice you would give them as they're getting started?
Do not get discouraged. Do not give up immediately. I almost did. When I first started, I wasn't that big into it. Like, and I mean, not big into it just because I didn't have that much time. I wasn't expecting to go full force into it or for it to grow like it did. But don't give up. Don't get discouraged and say, I'm not working full time this week. I'm not making all these customers all at one time. And other business owners that I know, they've said the same thing. Is your baby basically. When you start a business, you have to put a lot of time into it. You have to be patient and you just have to watch it grow and do what you can to help it grow. So just stick with it and don't give up. And if you put in the work and the time, it will pay off eventually.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, yeah.
Guys,
So if our listeners want to get in touch with you, keep up with you, where can they find you?
I'm on TikTok now. I'm on Facebook. I haven't started YouTube yet, but I was thinking about doing some YouTubes. But definitely Facebook and TikTok.
I'm telling you, if you get into YouTube, that's a whole hustle in itself, man. A whole thing. It helps with SEO. Like if you
Mm.
make long form YouTube videos, those help with your SEO on Google because they're one. They're together.
Oh, okay.
Short form on YouTube does not help with your SEO. It has to be the long form. So if you wanted to say advertise your cleaning business, you could just
Mhm.
make how-to videos of cleaning and post that on YouTube and use keyword research, which that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast. Um, yeah, and then with me, this turned into a whole other business. I mean, I have like a whole LLC for the social media side.
Nice.
Now, do I think that it has impacted the growth of my poop scooping business? 110% because my time is so divided.
Yeah.
But I do feel like God's calling me to do this. I'm like, all right, I'll do what you need to do or want me to
That's
do
right.
until it doesn't feel right anymore. And then I don't
Right.
know, figure it out from there.
That's right. But yeah, you seem to be doing great. And it's really been a pleasure. I'm glad we got to talk and got to meet like this.
This is really great. And I like that you were commenting on the videos because that's how, like, say, for instance, if you want to meet somebody, this is a little like a side note. Say, if you want to get around somebody and you want to meet them, you have to start like implementing or putting yourself in front of the people that you want to get to know. Like, you were commenting on my videos and you were interacting with my content. And if you wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't be chatting right now. We wouldn't be I love it. And so if you whoever's listening right now, if you want to get yourself into a new room and get yourself around new people, you have to like you have to make the move and do it because the room's not going to come to you. And that's what I'm learning on my new journey with getting around new people.
Yeah, you got to put yourself out there. I didn't do that for so long. And, it's really paid off. I've met amazing people. Hence, here we are today. So it really pays off. It does.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And for you guys that are tuning in, I try to drop a new episode every single Monday. And until next time, bye.